Hey everyone, how are you? So, well, we are looking at Jupiter today. It's going into the sign of Aries tomorrow on the 20th of December 2022 at 14:33 p.m. That's UK time. So let's explore how the energy of Jupiter is going to affect you, how you might want to use it, how you might want to harness it. Let's explore some of the benefits of Jupiter in this sign. It's only a really, really short space of time that he's going to be in Aries. So he's really coming in tomorrow on the 20th of December. Until May the 16th, 2023. So it's a really zip-zappy energy. So let's get down to business and find out a little bit more and see how we can use this to our benefit. So the first thing we need to know about Jupiter is the planet of expansion. If you think about the solar system, Jupiter appears to be the biggest planet known to us at this time. I say that very deliberately because there are lots of advances, coming out all the time. There are people looking for all sorts of things in the night sky, and who knows what we're going to find. We just don't know. But anyway, Jupiter is there, big planet. Some postulate that he's kind of got like a star effect. He's big and everybody knows about it. Now, for those of you that know a lot about astrology, you might already know that I've got somebody watching me already. That's so nice. Hey Siri, very nice to see you. You caught me live. You did. Thanks for joining us. So Jupiter is like, all of the planets have an association. They all rule a certain star sign. And Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius and also kind of co-rules the sign of Pisces with Neptune. So Jupiter is really important to those signs, and he's got a real kind of sort of emphasis, and I'll explain those a little bit later. I've also got someone else watching me. I just want to say hello. Hi, Louisa. How are you doing? It's really nice to know that you're watching me. It's been a while, hasn't it? So thank you for joining me, and please do say hi in the chat if you want, or if you've got a question about Jupiter in Aries and how you might use it to your advantage. So anyway, Jupiter has an association with Sagittarius and Pisces. He's also associated with the 9th and the 12th houses. So in astrology, if you know your birth chart, you'll know that there are 12 houses, and each of those houses rules a certain part of your life. And Jupiter has a bit of an influence. So if you know anything about him in mythology, you'll know that he was seen as quite a lucky planet, or a lucky god, because his father was trying to kill him. That was Saturn. Boo, hiss. But anyway, he was saved because he was almost like a golden child. His mum knew that he was going to be special and looked after him. I'll talk more about that in a different video, because I just want to really talk about in Aries. So Jupiter, wherever he goes, he expands, and he expands in pretty good humor. So he's known for everything that all energies about making things bigger. So for instance, if you think about his humor, it's raucous, it's over the top. He's OTT in so many ways. He's got a really good sense of humor. And that's why Sagittarians are known for having a good sense of humor, because of the Jupiter influence. And he's also known as being really jovial. That's where the name comes from. It's originating from, the Jupiter influence. He's known for joking, practical jokes, and things that create an abundance of emotion. He's also known for well-being. He kind of shares that with Venus, because people tend to feel well when they're in quite a Jupiter state. They feel unguarded. And that leads me to another sort of facet of Jupiter. Because Jupiter is such a big planet, he's associated with expansion. Everything he touches sort of expands, and he has this energy of warming us, of making us more confident. And he's also associated with arrogance and overconfidence too. If he's aspected in a particular way in your birth chart, possibly in a negative way, or really boosted up with lots of things, he can come across as arrogant. It can be expressed in your birth chart in that way. Now, he's also known for faith and spirituality. His association with Sagittarius. Sagittarius is about philosophy. It's about truth. It's about learning, not just like the learning we do at school, like, sums and learning to spell and things like that. That's not the Jupiter Sagittarian way of learning. That's all about sort of expanding the mind. And so Jupiter through Sagittarius or through the 9th house would encourage us to think in terms of philosophical thinking, the context of things, the sanctity of life issues, faith. All of our religions have a Jupiter, Sagittarian, ninth house kind of influence. And also any kind of spirituality. It also rules legal terms. It also looks at politics, publishing, all things where information is gathered and sent outwards. Now, the ninth house and Sagittarius are also known for adventure and travel, and so Jupiter has this kind of connection with where we're moving. It's very forward moving. It propels us forward. Jupiter is also known for big dreams. So how does the energy of Jupiter mesh with the energy of Aries? So for those of you that know already about Aries, you'll know it's the first fire sign. It's pretty direct, it's independent, it's kind of me first. It's the first time. If I like to always look at the star signs in a sort of chronological order, and also look at maybe the stage of development that we're going through. And if you think about your like when you're born, the whole world is gazing in at you. It's all about you. As a little baby, everything is about you. Like, you are absolutely in your own space. You do what you want when you want, in as much as obviously you can't do much as a baby, but you cry, you demand, you expect things your own way. There is this kind of simple single-mindedness about the first sign of the zodiac. It's also, the sign of Aries is also very much in its body. So the first fire sign is direct. It knows, it's got a really strong gut feeling, and it's, with its single-minded, it's very sort of like focused, directed, fiery energy. And so we've got this energy of Jupiter, which is expansive, possibly overconfident. It has faith in itself. It also is very positive and optimistic. It expects really good outcomes, and it's mixed with this unstoppable, fiery focus. What do you imagine is going to happen as Jupiter goes into the sign of Aries? I mean, it seems like an unstoppable momentum. So what you might want to do is think about the last time Jupiter was in the sign of Aries. It happens every 12 years, approximately. And I'll tell you the dates, and I'll talk to you a little bit about what happened to the last time Jupiter was in Aries for me, the last 2 times, because very major things happened to me. A lot of it depends on where it falls in your birth chart. So where is the sign of Aries in your birth chart? And, I'm very happy to help you out with that. I've also got a series of videos, actually on my other channel, Louisa Munson. I'm going to transfer them over shortly to Feel Good Astrology. But if you can't wait, then go to Louisa Munson on YouTube, and you can check them out there. But once you find out where your birth chart is, you'll have a really good idea as to where Jupiter is. What part of your life is he moving through and expanding. So the last time Jupiter was in the sign of Aries was in June 2010 up until June 2011. Now, in that time, he did dip out back into Pisces and then back in, but approximately from June 2010 to June 2011, think about what you were doing. Now, you might want to stop this video and actually cast your mind back and think, what's going on? How was I expanding? Where was I confident? Where was I excited? How fast was my life moving? Was I single-minded somehow? Did my dreams come true? Did I manifest something rather good? The last time it was there for me, I'd just come back from traveling, and I had the really good luck to meet my husband. And I fell in love, moved in with him, fell pregnant, and got engaged. So it's a pretty big year for me, because my whole life turned around last time Jupiter was in the sign of Aries. Now, I'm not going to say that that's going to be right for every one of you, but if you can go back to what was going on in June 2010 to June 2011 and see what the overall themes were for you, you'll have a really good idea as to how this influence might come in again. So for me, it really helped me start and initiate new things. In particular, things that I really wanted, that really meant something to me in terms of making my dreams come true. Now, the time before that was from February 99 until February 2000. So again, it's a long time ago. Don't expect you to remember where you were, and it's not a test at all. But I just thought, it's of interest, because Jupiter touches everything and expands things. Now, in that time, I was in my early 20s, and that was the year that I bought a house, which was a really major thing for me. So I was settling down with my then boyfriend, a different one, and I bought a house. And so it was the involvement of getting a mortgage and having a steady job and this, that, and the other. So the last 2 times Jupiter was in Aries for my birth chart, significant things changed. So I'm actually quite excited to think about Jupiter in Aries. Now, like I said, use those dates and have a think back to what you were doing and how were you expanding? Were you expanding in health? Were you expanding in your job? Now, for some people, you might find that the last time Jupiter went into Aries, things moved very, very quickly and it inflamed things. So this is one of the darker sides of Jupiter, is if in your birth chart there's a difficult planet in the area that he's going in, Jupiter's energy, where it makes it so much bigger, if you've already got a problem there, it confounds it. And so it makes it just that little bit harder. So for instance, when Jupiter has been in the sign of Pisces, I've often found myself, and my Jupiter is in the sign of Pisces, but it's a very involved side of my chart. So where it's just been, it's correlated with me feeling a little bit down in the dumps, a little bit shy, very uncertain about how I'm moving forwards, and really uncertain about how I'm living. The previous time it was in Pisces, I also felt like that. I was having a bit of a dark night of the soul. And the time before that, just before I bought a house, I was starting to think, now what? And for me, when it's been in the sign of Pisces, it's almost slowed everything right down, but that might not be the same for you. So there are different times when Jupiter comes into our world to turn it upside down, and other times when it really pushes us forward. So the first thing I would say, given that Jupiter is there for such a short space of time this time, it's usually there for a good 11, 12 months. We've just got a little chunk of time with Jupiter in Aries. Just check back over those times. I will write them in the show notes so you can check yourself. Now, let's have a think about how he's going to show up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the chart of the moment that Jupiter goes into Aries tomorrow. So let's just bring this up onto the screen. Let's take that banner away as well. 1 second. Okay. So I'm just hoping you can see my mouse there. Yeah. So this is the chart for tomorrow when Jupiter goes into the sign of Aries on the 20th of December, 2022, 2:33 p.m. I've set it for London, this chart. I'm going to blow it right up. Now, for those of you that understand charts, this will be really easy. You'll probably be thinking, oh, speed up a bit. Stop explaining everything. But what I'm going to do is kind of talk you through it a little bit. So what we've got here is the chart of when Jupiter goes into the sign of Aries. Now, I'm kind of excited about it. This is Jupiter up here. Here's the symbol for Jupiter. So if you are looking at your own chart and you want to see where he is in your own birth chart, look for the symbol that looks like a 4 with a curvy back. That's our Jupiter. And you'll see that it's got 0, 0, 0. This means he's literally gone from the sign of Pisces. All these planets are going anti-clockwise. Okay, so that's the way they go. He's just coming out of the sign of Pisces and moving into the sign of Aries. This is the symbol for Aries here. Now, there's something special about this 0 point between Aries and Pisces. In the, essentially, these star signs around the outside, they're part of what's known as the zodiac or the ecliptic, which essentially is this, I'm going to say imaginary. It's like an imaginary circle that kind of loops around us. And if you were to stand in the middle here, in the middle of this chart, looking up into space and looking out as far as you can see, if you're looking in one particular direction towards the constellation of Aries, you would see the constellation of Aries projected onto the sky. And that as you turn around in a circular motion, you'll see the constellation of Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, etc., all the way around until you get back to the sign of Aries. But the very special thing about this point here is it was determined to be like the start of this never-ending loop. And so when I see zero, like 0 point at the sign of Aries, I think of 0 point energy. Now, for those of you that have thought about 0 point energy or learned about 0 point energy, it's the idea of energy with no resistance. It's like completely an energetic, full of possibility. And I like to think of it as a magician's hat. Like the magician puts his hand into this hat and he kind of pulls, you never know what he's going to pull out. Most likely a rabbit. Maybe it could be, I don't know, a string of coloured handkerchiefs, but you never know. And it's a bit like that. You might have an intention for something, and you might just intend for a great life. I mean, that's a great intention because you're not putting any kind of constrictions or limitations on what this amazing energy is going to bring forth for you. But you never know what's going to come out with this 0 point energy, and it's more magnificent than you can imagine. And so in many respects, if you have an intention at the time that Jupiter's going over this point, which is at 2:33 p.m. on the, like tomorrow, on the 20th of December 2022, if you're really free in your thinking at this time, and all you're sort of really intending, take a moment to yourself and just think, okay, this is, how do I want to use this energy? I want to use it just to create my best for me, or the best for the world, or the best for all life. You know, keep it really open and see what comes up, because this 0 point energy is like, it is, I think, almost like it's creator energy. It's the most dynamic energy that I can think of. So it's like a complete blank slate. And it's almost like you cast off the energy of Jupiter into Pisces. I always think the tail end of Pisces, I always think this is a little bit like this point between Pisces and Aries. It's almost like a little death, and then a reincarnation. It's like a resurrection. It's like we go all the way around the human story and we come right back to the beginning. And then right at the beginning, we can start again, start afresh. So if you can capture that idea, you can probably guess I'm quite excited. I think this is really great. This is great dynamic energy. So Jupiter's going into Aries here. Now let's look at the quality of this energy and what these lines here, I mean, what you'll see first of all is that we've got all these planets all the way around this birth chart. So for instance, if you're in the middle of this chart looking up at the sky, and you can see for flipping miles, hundreds of thousands of miles and whatnot, you could perceive all of the different planets according to the constellations that they're showing up in. And astrologers will look at the astronomical positions of these planets, and they bring them to the same sort of relative distance from the center of the chart. And then when we're looking at this space between these planets, the relative space, what we're doing is analyzing the quality of the energy. And what has been noticed by astrologers and all sorts of people that work with the planetary energy is when there's an energy of approximately 120 degrees or an energy of 60 degrees, that's this short blue line, that there's a beautiful flow state. Things are easy. Things are much, much easier when we're in this state. When there's these red connections, these short ones, that's a 90-degree energy. And these ones that cut through the middle, these are known as an opposition. It's 180 degrees because it's slicing up this big circle. So what we can see here on this day that Jupiter goes into the sign of Aries, we've got this beautiful flow state between Jupiter. Hang on, we actually, yep, where's he going? Yeah, this isn't a very exact trine of 120 degrees. It is going down to the moon, but it's a bit of a wide angle. But it is definitely in a flow state. And Jupiter is connected here to these guys here, Pallas Athena, and also this is Lilith. Now, these all have different meanings. So when you've got this kind of flowing energy between one planet and another, what happens is there's a sort of blending of the way the planets work together. And so here, for instance, with the energy of Jupiter and the moon, there's a blending of this goodwill, this expansion, which is very much about the energy of Jupiter. And then we've got this moon, which is our intuition, our emotions, our sensibilities, our sensitivities, very much our dreams, and very much our inner child. So there's a kind of emotional expansion possibility. So in many ways, as Jupiter goes into Aries tomorrow, it's representing the energy of us expanding on our inner child, like maybe healing our inner child, bringing well-being to our inner child, maybe allowing our dreams to come forward. I like that. Jupiter is also connected really nicely with Pallas Athena. Now, I always think Pallas Athena is a very strategic body, in the celestial body, to work with. Pallas Athena shows us where we are calm and collective and where we make really good decisions. Pallas Athena also shows us where we recognize patterns and where we can learn from patterns. Hang on, I can just see we've got a comment coming in, so let me just check this out in case it's a question. One sec. It might be my husband saying hurry up because I'm doing a live stream in a second. Hang on. Siri saying, oh, I know what I'm going to do. Well, that's good. Well, I'm glad you're inspired already. That's fantastic. That's good. I like to hear that. That's great. So yes, there's this opportunity to birth something brand new. Now with Pallas Athena, there's the opportunity of expressing patterns, recognizing patterns, and then making them bigger, working with these patterns, making these patterns more dynamic for you. Also with Lilith here, Lilith represents where we have a rage, where we felt suppressed. Lilith often shows us where we've got a very suppressed anger, where we felt forsaken, where we felt bullied, where we felt under the thumb somehow, very much done in an unfair way. So here we've got this really nice release of the energy. Now, Jupiter could expand on it. So if you do have some betrayal issues going on, as Jupiter goes into Aries, trust me when I say they're likely to come up. It's likely to come up to be resolved. Now, if you're ready to resolve it, there's a beautiful energetic between Jupiter and Lilith. It will come up, it will have the energy to be resolved, but there's a lot of goodwill there, a lot of enthusiasm. So this is how it's working. I like it a lot. Jupiter's also connected in a really nice connection to Pluto. Now, Pluto's a very slow moving planet, not necessarily very easy. Pluto definitely puts us through our paces, but Pluto looks at where we're transforming. From my perspective, and anyone that's ever had Pluto go over their sun, which is definitely me. Oh, by the way, it's my birthday tomorrow. And actually, I timed this recording to coincide with my astrological birthday. So literally, just moments before I hit the live button, it is my astrological birthday, which means the sun has just got back to where it was at the time, place, and date of my birth. So I'm kind of excited. But anyway, Pluto shows where we are stuck and where we try and control the stuckness that we're going through. And so Pluto shows almost like where we need to die to our ego. It really shows us that if we're not going to give up on something, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And that's usually what happens when Pluto is involved in any of our patterns. Well, here, as Jupiter's going through Aries, there's this promise, actually, I think. There's kind of like a promise. Look, if you're going to face your fears, if you're going to release and yield, I'm going to help you, you know. And Jupiter and what I like about this as well is Jupiter and Pluto are they've both got an energy linked to death as well. Now, obviously, that doesn't sound like a great thing or a fun thing, but at the time of the phenomenon of the pandemic, Jupiter, this one here, and Saturn and Pluto were all together in the sign of Capricorn. And Jupiter helps things to spread. So if there's a news, or if there's like news that needs to be spread, Jupiter will help do it. If there's a virus that needs to spread, or a feeling that there's a virus to be spread, then Jupiter's your man. Pluto is all about death and dying and fears being manifest. So, you know, at that time when Jupiter and Saturn's a bit of a grumpy old git. There are some benefits to him, and I've done videos about him. But anyway, when these three were together, the idea of the pandemic was able to spread far and wide. And the fear represented by Pluto, just it kind of ignited. It just went right the way around the world. Well, with Jupiter working sort of compassionately with Pluto, what I see here, how I interpret this in a kind of spiritual way, is that we can let go of our fears and find well-being. Jupiter will help us recognize where our fears are, where we're being controlled by our fears. And it's going to kind of take us by the hand. And then just as we say, okay, I'm going to yield to this, almost in a kind of faithful way, because if you remember, Jupiter has this kind of energy of faith and spirituality and prayer and stuff like that. As you're kind of saying, okay, I'm going to yield to myself. I'm going to let go of this thing I'm trying to control. Jupiter's just going to take you by the hand and grab you and pull you right through, and you'll move through it really quickly. So I like that. Jupiter at this exact moment in time is in opposition to dwarf planet Ceres down here. Now this is interesting to me for a whole other bunch of reasons, because in a couple of days, and I'll probably talk about this in another video actually, because once you get me going, I'm not going to stop. But so you got this 0 point energy of Aries. Now this also corresponds with the spring equinox. Now here we've got Ceres at 0 degrees in the sign of Libra. And now this point here, another 0 point energy, this corresponds to the autumn equinox. In a couple of days' time, on the 21st of December 2020, the sun, which is here at 28 degrees tomorrow, on the 21st of December, it's going to be right on this cusp here, which represents 0 degrees in the sign of Capricorn. And then a day or two after that, on the 23rd of December, we're also going to have the sun and moon here in the early degrees of Capricorn. And there's going to be this square energy between the sun and Jupiter, which is already starting to play out. And a square energy down here to Ceres. Now, Ceres represents, she is Mother Earth. She is also a sign of the cycles of nature. So if we think of, and this is a whole other subject, but I'm going to link it in because they're all in a pattern together. Ceres, dwarf mother, dwarf planet, she is Demeter, she's also known as, and she was the goddess of the earth, Mother Nature, and her daughter Persephone was allegedly kidnapped by Hades, also known as this guy here, Pluto, into the underworld. And you might know this story, you might have learnt it many, many years ago. And so she was kidnapped into the underworld, and Ceres fell apart and she couldn't keep nature quite as happy as ever. Like, when she started grieving for the loss of her daughter, all the leaves shriveled up on all the trees, everything started dying back. So it's a good old mythological story. Now, we had some intervention. In fact, it may even have been Zeus, which is Jupiter, but I need to check that off the top of my head. I can't quite remember. But anyway, Ceres was able to locate her daughter, but because her daughter had eaten half of a pomegranate, which is the fruit of the dead and the underworld, it was deemed that she had to stay half of the year underground with Pluto, stroke Hades, and then she could come up and come above ground and be with her mum for the other half of the year. Hence, we have the seasons, the dying back of nature and then the coming back of nature. Now, Ceres, because of this, she represents the cycles of nature, the growth pattern and the dying back pattern. She also represents cycles of grief. She represents the grief of all the mothers of the world, of every parent that's lost a child. She represents all kinds of nurturing. So you don't have to be a mother, you can be a father. You can parent and look after creatures and beings in your own sweet way. We all learn about this kind of paternal, maternal responsibility. So at this time that Jupiter is going into Aries, where we are expanding as people, so we're expanding as people and we're getting very single-minded, very single-focused, this unstoppable energy. As we're going forwards, it's creating this sensitivity with the mum energy. Now, the big question is, how are we going to push forwards in our goals whilst also not forgetting our responsibilities or not forgetting where we came from? How can we push forwards with our dreams with not forgetting our connection to Mother Nature? And how can we also recognize that when we push forwards, we might also be leaving something behind, and there might be a grief process going on as well. In fact, we might be moving forward so fast and that our own parents start saying, hey, where did they go? What's going on here? So yes, this is quite an interesting dynamic. And in a couple of days' time, when the sun is here, the sun represents the overall personality. So if we're looking at this from a world perspective, the people of the earth at this moment in time, as we go into this Jupiter and Aries stage, but also as we hit the solstice of 2022, the winter solstice, or the December solstice, according to which hemisphere you're in, the people are preparing for a new start. They're preparing for a new season, and they're going into the sign of Capricorn. So it's quite a practical season. We're practicing paring things back. We're practicing being very lean, very respectful, and understanding our responsibilities a lot more. At the same time, from this new space of paring everything back, we're also wanting to move forwards at a great speed of knots. So if I was in your shoes tomorrow, as Jupiter goes into the sign of Aries, think in terms of setting an intention that allows you to pare back everything, kind of clean out your life, let go of all the stuff that's really not working for you. Just be really honest. Like, you can start now, think, okay, what's not working for me? What would I like to let go of? And by letting go, it could be tragic, or you could just think, I'm just going to kind of ignore you, or like, I'm just going to change my focus from where I was really tied up to where I look free and unfettered. And you also want to think, how can I move forwards without ditching my responsibilities, in terms of nurturing others? So how can I move forwards and satisfy my dreams? How can I notice the patterns around me? How can I let go of any hurts and betrayals that I felt that have held me back? How can I allow the fullness of me to emerge? And I think if you set out with that kind of intention, wow, who knows where you're going to be at the end of this. Like I say, this energy is coming up until the 16th of May, when it then moves into the sign of Taurus, and then we've got a whole different ball game going on. But anyway, I just thought you might like that. So if I can be of any further help, then please do feel free to drop me a line. You can reach me. It's Louisa Tanner Munson. So Louisa Tanner Munson, Munson @gmail.com. All the links are below in the show notes, or they will be very shortly. By the by, this is quite a big year for me, given that the last 2 times Jupiter's gone into Aries, big life-changing stuff has happened. So I'm setting myself a really big goal in this sort of period from now until my next birthday. And my goal is to teach as many people to learn how to use astrology to benefit themselves in their own lives, like how to plan with the phases of the moon, how to interpret your chart. If you're interested in learning from scratch, or, if you already have some information and you just want to look at it more deeply, then just drop me a line. I will be announcing details of how I'm going to do it. Most likely, I'm just going to be doing lots of free videos. And then there'll be opportunities to buy a few notes, nothing too expensive, because I want to make this as affordable to as many people as possible, because I think astrology can absolutely change your life. It's a really good reset point. It's a chance to absolutely fly, and also to be able to, if you can imagine that you can predict the times when things might be a bit difficult, and then you can see these difficult times coming up and make strategies to use that energy in a different way. I mean, what could be better than that? And if you know when the great times are coming up, that's even better, because then you can plan to make sure you're launching good things at these times. Hence why I'm launching this now. So if you're interested, just drop me a line. I will be announcing dates soon. And for those of you that want to go even more deeply, I'll be doing coaching. And if you'd like me to interpret your own charts, then just drop me a line too. You can also go to feelgoodastrology.com /store. Anyway, lots and lots of love to you wherever you are in the world. I hope this has been helpful. And if I can be of any help, just drop me a line. I love you all. Mwah! Bye for now.